Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is the Creative Scene Podcast, Season 1, Episode 2, where we'll be sharing insights, opportunities, and lessons on how to grow as a creative designer in the creative industry. Yes, we are honored to have our first guest in the podcast. Our first guest is a visual artist and art director. He's worked as a 3D animator, a digital artist. He's worked in the branding industry, advertisement, and social media. Yes, the first guest of this podcast is Isaac Lugalia. Welcome, Isaac Lugalia.
Thank you very much for including me in this podcast. Mm-hmm. As you know, my name is Isaac Lugalia, and I've been working in the design industry for 10 years now.
10 years, okay.
As a professional, but I began way back when I was young, just indulging in art stuff, creative stuff, or not. Mm. Until now, I took it up as a professional, as a means to earn a living until to date. And in the journey, I've learned a lot. I've grown a lot. I've worked with people who have helped me to be who I am today. And I'm still learning in the process.
That's amazing. You're honored to have you. I've been a great follower of your work on social media. I've been a great follower, and I feel like your work is really amazing, especially what you've been doing with AI and mashing it up with digital art. That's an amazing thing, and it's quite inspiring.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, so on this podcast, we'll be talking about your journey, how you got to where you are, so that people who are viewing this podcast, probably they'll learn a thing or two from your journey, and maybe you can share a few things from what you've learned throughout.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, well, I can say art is a very vast industry. Mm-hmm. That's what I've learned. Like when I began art, I began only as a cartoonist. I used to draw. Okay. I did a comic book for Young Nation back then, a comic book, because that was my first inspiration that brought me into art. When I was growing up, my dad used to buy me a lot of comic books. Okay. He used to travel and come back with comic books from America, and I was so amazed of some of the art that were being used there. Mm-hmm. So I had tons of comic books, and I also wanted to go in the same direction of drawing comic books. But I wondered, how do they make it so nice? How do they color it? How do they make it pop? Because I tried to draw by hand and color it. I was using crayons, all sorts of styles. Yeah. So back then, and also what really inspired me is the movies that I was watching. I was watching a lot of cartoons when I was still young. Okay. I was so inspired by the style. I was inspired by how the curiosity of how do they make these things come to life. How do they make drawings come to life? Yeah. You know? I was so intrigued into it. So when I was in primary, as I still had that. I think it's a gift. Every artist knows that they have a gift. Though some people say everyone is born an artist, but somewhere along the road, it just gets lost. But some people, they still retain that gift. So I'm not sure if that is a true theory or false. Okay. But I tend to be more focused on art when I was young, because even in primary school, I used to draw the charts. Every teacher would approach me to draw a chart, like the human body, that. Then when I went to secondary school, I'm then used to decorate the stage for school plays. Okay. That is from Form 2 till Form 4. Even after Form 4, they were still calling me until I had to quit because of that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. After that, after Form 4, I was thrown into the real world now. Yeah. I was to become, my inspiration was to continue with art, but there was a bit of conflict because my parents didn't view art as a way that you can earn a living. Yeah. So that was a big challenge in my career. I wanted to impress my dad, but also I wanted to follow my passion. And this, down the road, something happened, and art was the only way that now I could support myself. Yeah, there'll be some family crises. Then I was left with art that could only support me. Yeah, so I began by drawing I was using paint to draw for, like the way you paint for schools, businesses like a butchery, a saloon. Yeah, so I'll be the one to paint the Mickey Mouse on kindergarten. On butchery, I used to draw it. Then someone approached me and asked me if I would want to work as a designer, as a graphic designer. And I didn't know what graphic design is mainly, because I told them I want to do cartoons. Yeah, I want to do cartoons. In that period, there was a time I did a comic book for Young Nation, just a short mini story for Young Nation. And I was introduced to Adobe at that time, at that period. But Adobe was called Adobe Image, if I'm not wrong.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that.
Adobe Image, I'm not sure. I've forgotten the name of the software, but I think it was Adobe Image, where I was using it to color, because I found it so interesting. So I went and I presented myself to Young Nation, the editor, and I told him this is something I'd like to do. If you like, I would like to publish it. Then because of some life issues, I dropped it again, and then I began to work. I was trying to find work, because the person who approached me and asked me if I wanted to be a designer, he told me that there's a school that teaches design. That was Buruburu Institute of Fine Arts. Yeah. So I went there, but then I saw the fee is too high. I said, this I cannot, but maybe if I get a job, I can pay for myself. Yeah.
Okay.
So my first job was actually as a graphic designer, but I didn't know. I don't know why they chose me, but I had no clue, because the only thing I knew was how to use was Adobe Image and Adobe Photoshop. Yeah, but the boss, I don't know if he's watching. His name is Eric Chege. I'll just thank him for giving me the chance to grow. Yeah, he introduced me to. He gave me a chance, and from that work experience, I learned other softwares like Adobe InDesign, Adobe Illustrator. Yeah, that's when I got the concept of what graphic design is. Yeah, being able to create artwork that communicates, that also helps other businesses to sell. Yeah, so it was a challenge for me, but I thank God that I was because I'm a quick learner, so I was able to pick up many skills, especially in Adobe Illustrator, Adobe InDesign, and I began to publish. I began to design brochures, leaflets to market. Yeah, so from that experience, that's when I began to expand as a graphic designer, from a cartoonist just drawing cartoons now to other aspects of graphic design. Then from there, I was lucky again to get a job at WHO Somalia. That's as an in-house designer. I did only for 1 year, and my main duties were to design publications. And the skills I got from there was now other skills like like designing newsletters, designing now instead of designing a brochure, you design a whole book, like an annual report, infographics. It was quite a challenge. I was trying to hide my my lack of professionalism that because I didn't want to lose a job. But I thank God I met people who are kind to me. They were willing to allow me to grow and learn. Yeah, because that is part of the process. Yeah. So from there, I learned. I picked up skills how to design like complex publications. Yeah, for the company. After that, I worked. That was in 2015 when my contract ended. I joined now an agency that I work for until now.
Okay.
Yeah. So on this has been the biggest. I've grown a lot in the past years since 2015 working for this agency.
Okay.
Because I used to know only a few softwares. Now from there I grew as a motion designer, as a 3D artist, because I had to pick up new skills also to learn. So I've been in the agency. I've also got a chance to work with big brands like Jameson, Microsoft. There's so many big brands that I didn't know I was really skilled to work with. But I thank the boss for giving me also an opportunity and trusting me to work for them. And from there, I think my confidence has grew to be able to execute designs that are able to be appreciated also on an international level. Yeah. Aside from that, I also still work on personal projects also and side hustles that only focus on design. Yes. So that's where I am till now.
So I've seen many of your works on Instagram, and I can tell there's a lot of experience and skill. Is there any technique that you use or procedure to come up with your designs?
Yeah, there's a procedure because as an artist, in order to come up with something, you should have a process. You should have an idea first. So mostly when it comes to, because every artist has a different way of coming up with an idea. For me, I try to do my first approach is to, when it comes to fan art, like there's a difference between fan art and now the work you do at an agency. For fan art, I could just be in town and I see something that inspires me. Like I'll see a person wearing a kitenge or an African themed cloth, and I think I can make something that goes along that. Yeah. So I just write it down somewhere. Then when I have my free time, I create something nice. But when it comes to now work at an agency, whereby you have to, it's not fun work. You have to get something that will help the client sell, and also will help the client to meet their goals. So for this, we do a brainstorm. We share ideas with the team, and also now we do a sketch. Now, when it comes to a role whereby I am the only one who is needed. Now that's where I do a sketch first, then I share them with the team. It's really nice. After that, we do a draft. After a draft design, then when it's approved, then you go to fine tune it and put more details. But sometimes that is not always the case. Sometimes there's a deadline and you just have to go freestyle on it. So yeah.
Okay. Will you say there's a difference between agency work and personal projects? Because from a personal experience, I feel like most creatives are attached to their personal work, and they tend to bring that attachment to agency work. So would you say there's a difference, and if so, how will one detach from the attachment to agency work? Because you'd find most of the times you're attached to agency work, and then the client needs changes, they want revisions here and there, and then you're attached to it, and you're like, the work is really good, but I don't get why exactly the client wants the specific changes. So how would you differentiate between the two?
Okay, from my personal experience, there's a client who told me it's not how good the artwork is. It can look so good, it can look eye-popping, but the most important thing is how it communicates. You know, you can just create an artwork with just text only, like buy here, only that, and that one is enough. It will communicate and will attract. It will help the customer to build up his business. Because sometimes us as an artist, we are caught up in we are caught up in our art style. It's so nice that we want also to use it to impress other people. But the main difference is when we are doing a personal project, it's just about you having fun or building a skill in yourself. But when you're doing a job for a customer, it's about helping the customer make sales for his or her business or if it's a big organization. So when you are when you are working for an agency or a personal customer for yourself, ask yourself what is the goal of the customer. Yeah. Don't come with the mindset that you want to impress him with your skills or like that. Yeah. But the mindset you should come up with, how would I help you meet your business goals using I can say skills. Skills. So that is what I've learned.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not about how good you are; it's how you help the client communicate his business goals.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how you mentioned that you work at an ad agency.
Yes.
So how do you balance between the two? How do you balance your personal projects and how do you balance the work at the agency?
Okay, I can say this sometimes it's difficult depending on the season. There are moments for those who have worked at an agency. There are moments where you are doing a pitch and it can be an hectic one.
Yeah.
So you have to put aside your personal project and focus on it because you cannot drop it because that's your source of income. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to balance, but for me personally, when I have my free time, I do my best to create my personal projects because out of my personal projects, I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm trying to push my boundaries to see the limits I can reach to my skill. Like for example, when I didn't know 3D until during the Corona season.
Okay.
I was just admiring from afar.
Really, and the your work is good.
Yeah, during the current season. So, okay, at that time, I had nothing to do at home. We were taught to, we were taught to work from home. I was lucky enough not to lose my job. But the thing is, work was less at that time. But I decided to use that free time to learn new skills. I had a bit of 3D because when I left WHO Somalia, that is in 2015, I tried to enroll in a school called Chantal School of Media Arts, but I didn't stay there for long. I just got a bit of skills in 3D.
Okay.
Yeah, but because of some personal reasons, I had to drop out. But during that season of Corona, I decided to explore more, and I was amazed on how quickly I picked up learning. I used different softwares, different styles. Yeah. So from there, I think that's when I think that skill really gave me a lot of opportunities with other people because when I began to post them online, I began to get lots of calls, DMs like, can you do this? Until sometimes I had to shut down my Instagram, LinkedIn. Yeah, because I could not. Yeah, because there are so many things coming at that time. So I was very impressed with that skill. Yeah. So I tried my best to try and also communicate with your boss that tell them that you also have some side hustle. If your boss is understanding, which I hope all are, Yeah, he will also he'll also try to respect your time a lot. Give you your time on weekends, because most designers, sometimes on weekends it's hard to get free time, because sometimes there's constant work coming in a lot. So try to communicate with your boss that you're willing to work at the agency, you're willing to put more effort, Lord, and also try to and also be just be open with him a lot. And also when it comes to creating to having free time, try to utilize every free time you have on your personal projects. Yeah, because sometimes it's hard, especially if you have a family. Your family will also need you.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, it's a bit of a challenge, but also because if you intend that art is your source of income, art is you'll be doing art until the coming years. Try as much to invest in that one. Because if you grow, you'll also get more opportunities.
Yes, true.
As a visual artist, sometimes you start a project and you get stuck somewhere. So, are there any challenges that you face, and how do you overcome them?
Is that in personal projects or also professional work?
Both of them.
Yeah, I can call that I call it a creative block or a mind fog. From me, I think maybe it's caused by on my personal experience, maybe it's fatigue. Learn to give yourself enough rest, because remember also being creative, our study is a psychological thing.
Yes.
That you have to maintain it. You have to take care of your mind. You have to take care of your psychology. Because that's where ideas come in. Yes. And if you're not in a good mental state, sometimes it's unavoidable because of life. Yeah. Like for example, the current situation where the country is going through, the economy is a bit hard, and I'm sure people are people are facing issues, trying to meet daily needs, trying to get jobs. Yeah, it can be avoidable or unavoidable, but the main thing is just take care of your mind properly. And if you find yourself that you're stuck at a particular project, just leave it for some while. For me, I know sometimes it's hard when you're working at an agency and your boss requires you to come up to do something very fast.
Yes.
Yeah, so sometimes it's not bad to steal an idea, like from Pinterest and other sources. Yes. But if you are to still be a good stealer, you still combine ideas from other artists. Yes. Yeah, to come up with one. Because me, that's what I do. Because work cannot stop because you are not able to meet a certain. You're not able to come up with an idea, but you have to develop a skill, because this is also a skill. You should have a skill of, I say, good stealing. You become you get ideas from other sources, because even if you look at the film industry, there are some movies that are not original, and yet they make it big. Like if you are aware of a movie like Lion King, it is not an original idea. Yeah, there's other films that are not original, but the one that is copied makes more money than the original one. Yeah, so I think you have to develop a skill, because this is a skill also. You have to develop, to try and seek inspiration from different sources and how to combine them into your current work. Yeah, and also that is number one. Then number two, try to as much as to take care of your mind and psychology, despite what might be going around you, because sometimes life is hard. But try as much to get enough rest. Try as much as to go outdoors, hiking, that stuff. Yeah.
Free your mind.
Yeah.
As a person who works at an agency, I'd say that's a big challenge challenge for most people who work at agencies. Like they don't have enough time to themselves because agency work is like a lot, and sometimes it gets a bit draining. So yeah, I'd advise people to take care of themselves first. Put yourself first. If your mental health is not at the best position, it's best to take some time off. And yeah, hopefully you have an understanding employer who understands that your mental health comes first, and then everything else comes after it.
Yeah, it's also important to communicate. Just don't keep quiet about your personal issues. Sometimes you might be dying inside and you're being forced to work, being forced to come up with ideas. I was also in the same position, but it's not a very healthy position to be in, because you find yourself that your creativity is also being choked. You're not able to be productive in your work. So just learn to communicate. Find someone to speak to about your issues. Open up. Don't keep stuff inside, because they will also affect your creativity and your workflow.
Okay. Yeah, true. Now, we talked about, you mentioned that you also worked in the branding sector of branding sector, yes. So how do you bring about your creative talents or skills into communicating, into visually communicating a brand's needs to its audience?
For this, you have to know the customer first. You have to know their business. You have to engage with them. Know their mission, their vision, and also when it comes to the design aspect, there's this thing called a brand book. You have to learn how have they established themselves visually with colors, style, and like that, and how will you use those colors and styles to create their communication kit, like for social media, for posters, for billboards, like that. So the main thing is just to understand the nature of the business.
Okay.
And remember, also this is a teamwork thing. Because as a designer, you can have the skill, but you don't have the skill to market a certain business. So it's also important to try and collaborate with other people. Like if you know a person who's good at marketing, you can focus on the design part and contact him and also ask him, how can we collaborate? We help this client to sell.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So don't just think that if a client comes to you for a specific need, that you'll be able to do everything, because that's where as we make a lot of mistakes, and you end up portraying yourself as being unprofessional. Because yes, you have the skills of design, you can design cool stuff, but you don't know how to market, you don't know how to attract customers. But you have a friend who knows that, or an agency who know how to do that. Just give them a phone call and tell them, I have this project and this client. Can we do this project together?
Okay.
Yes.
How would you explain the importance of branding to companies, maybe companies that are starting up or brands that are starting up? Because most brands don't understand the importance of branding and the importance of coming up with a how do I say it? A creative direction or a story behind how they came up and their purpose in the industry. How would you explain the importance of, setting themselves apart from other people who are doing the same thing that they're doing?
Okay, because the most important thing, business have to know, design plays a big role on how customers engage with their business. If you don't establish yourself on a visual way, like for people to know who you are, like if you look at Coca-Cola, if you look at Pepsi, if you look at there's some brands that just by a look, even without even looking at the copy or anything on that. You know what brand this is, like Safaricom, Coca-Cola, and other big brands. So I think when it comes to design, all I can say is companies need it because it gives a proper foundation visually, because visual communication is also important. People have to see what you do. You can't just tell people that I sell mango juice like that. Like people have to have just a visual representation of your business. It plays a very big role in the psychology of your customers a lot, because it helps them to capture their attention, to capture their attraction to your business, and the more visually you are always on social media posting, see, the more customers you are likely to get. So I think visual plays a big role when it comes to selling, because people see, and the more appealing you are, the more appealing, and the most important thing is that your visuals have to communicate something in an impactful way. So that's why you need skills in marketing, communication, copywriting. All those come into play to form a branding communication.
Right now, there's a lot of digital tools that are emerging, like AI tools, algorithms. Can you say that there's a way that have helped you in your creative process?
For me, at first, the AI came as to me it came as a shock first. I was not expecting something to create something something that takes me like even 4 days to create can be created within 2 minutes just by typing. So, but it's to first it seems as a threat to the design industry. I know it's a scary thing. If we're having this discussion with my friends, should we be trying to find other means of income? But for me, it's not a threat, because I've also engaged with AI for some while, and this is also a skill you need to come up with something visually. Because I've seen a normal user use AI and a professional use an AI, and the outcome is totally different. So I think AI, it will quicken the workflow, especially in this age where people need things to be turned around very fast. It will help you it will help designers to quicken their workflow, come up with the ideas, and shorten the delivery time. And I think that plays a big role. And I'm sure AI also has other aspects. For me, I'm still learning it. I'm still trying to find ways how I can merge it with my craft and come up with new concepts. Because I'm yet to try to use it on a professional way. I've not yet begun, but I've had some designers that are really making a hit with it. There are people who are selling canvas. There are people who are making storybooks for children, and it's really expanding their financial income. So I think AI can be used very well. Don't see it as a threat. You have to learn to evolve, because the world is always changing. It's always changing. If you resist change, you'll be buried. So learn to merge with the change and flow with it.
Okay. I've seen you work with AI. I think you're merging it with a bit of Photoshop, right?
I'm merging with Photoshop and 3D and photography. I can tell whereby my process if I pick photography, I can say I take a photo and then I try to try and add more elements to it using AI. And I can see I try to introduce it to a photographer, and it's impressed his customer. So I think also photographers, they can really benefit from it, because instead of taking just normal portraits, they can try and add more 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 eye popping stuff, because people like to look nice on the photography. Yeah. So I think every designer can. This is a matter of exploring, trying to experiment.
Yeah.
I know it's hard to experiment. It takes time, but the more you do it, the more you might hit a jackpot.
Yeah. Because I've worked with Midjourney. I'd say the challenge for beginners is creating that prompt that gives you exactly what you want. So how would you advise someone who's starting out on Midjourney? How do you create the exact prompt for exactly what you want it to give it back to you?
I can say this was also a challenge for me in the beginning. And that's why I mentioned that there's a difference between a normal user and a professional, because the outcome is different. Because, for example, when you're, if I can give a specific example, if you're creating an artwork that you want it to look like a certain feel, like HD, 4K, like that, you have to know some graphic design terms. Like you have to know, like for example, this I want an artwork that has HD feel, taken by a Canon, set on a specific ISO, like 1000 ISO, the depth of field. Yeah, so it's a matter of knowing the graphic design terms to use on the prompts. Yeah, because people just type. I want a man standing on a tree. Then they type in, just comes something different that they had in mind. But if you know some graphic design vocabulary, like because for me this was a challenge in the beginning, but I was studying other people's prompts, and I can see they use some specific words, like the camera settings, so that the visual might come out exactly the way you take a camera with a picture. Like 4K, you have to know the meaning of 4K. You have to know the meaning of
aspect ratio.
Yeah, aspect ratio and stuff. Yeah, it's just the vocabulary, the design vocabulary you have in your mind that will enable you to come up with the exact thing you want.
That's interesting, because your work on social media, it's mind blowing, honestly. Will you say there's like a story? Because I think most of your work is based on African people, right?
Yeah, I try. So for me, being an African, Africa is a country for me personally. It's full of color and everything. Yeah, so I try to, because it does a lot of inspiration. So I try to come up with so many designs that evolve around African culture.
Okay. Yeah, your work is quite inspiring.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So are there any projects that you'd say, or maybe collaborations that you'd say was your best work, or maybe they influenced you in a certain way?
When I posted 3D, when I'm going to post the 3D work online, I got a DM from a big organization in Nigeria. They were dealing with, they wanted me to come up with a way to help the youth to stop going to Europe via sea. That was a very big issue in Nigeria, where the youth, they are trying to enter Europe using seas. Some of them, they end up in slave trade. Some of them, they end up being trafficked or dying at sea. So they wanted me to come up with something that would enable them to communicate to the youth. Okay. So at first they wanted a 3D animation, like a story, but being one person, that was impossible, and because that would have, the budget would be high. So I tried to suggest a 3D comic book. Instead of drawing the comic book, now it's 3D. So I had to come up with a software that does that quick. And the software is called, I don't know if you know, does 3D.
Is it from Autodesk, Kama?
No, it's not from Autodesk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a character development software. Yeah, you can create different characters with it. So that was the first time I knew how to use it. because I had no idea. Because one thing about a designer, sometimes just don't say no to a project because you don't know. Yeah, just take it up and learn in the process. That is how, for me personally, that's how I've grown. I didn't know everything, but I learned as I was doing. Yeah. So on this particular project, I managed to create a good 3D comic book that they were impressed and they appreciated it. And I can say that was the biggest, that is the first that is the most challenging project I've ever worked on because I had to learn as I was doing. I didn't know anything, but I had to learn in the process as I was doing. Like I would see tutorials on YouTube and then do it. That's how I learned.
And again, this Creative Scene podcast, you can engage with us on Instagram at Creative Scene KE, on TikTok at Creative Scene KE, on YouTube, Creative Scene KE.
Yes. This is the second episode of the first season of Creative Scene. We are happy to have Isaac Lugalia with us on the episode. So Isaac Lugalia is a creative who has engaged himself in digital art, branding, social media marketing, advertising. So he definitely has a lot to share with anyone who's starting up or anyone who wants to learn from his experience. He also has experience in artificial intelligence when it comes to creative design, and we are happy to have you. On the next question, with the trends in AI, VR, XR, the upcoming technologies, how would you say creatives have like a greater opportunity, or what would you say about the upcoming technologies, especially in XR?
For me personally, I've been doing a lot of research on it because at first I viewed it as a threat to my career. But I've learned that this also requires a professional approach. So I don't get my advice is that you should embrace the change in technology and learn to merge with it. For me, I've seen other artists taking advantage of this. Like they're doing online exhibitions. Like you don't need to go. Like right now, you don't need to go to France to view an art exhibition. You can just view it like while you're here. And also, if you are an art collector, you can buy when you're here. So I can see it's really helping artists to reach out to more audience. I can say that. And also in the film industry, it's also helping people to come up with. You can see people are using ChatGPT to come up with scripts. It's a bit of a threat to writers also, because if a film can come up with a script, why will you need a writer? So for me, it poses a bit of a threat, and also someone can use it at their advantage. So for me, you can see people, if you learn to use the tool or you learn to merge it with your craft and come up with something more extraordinary, I think it will help you to achieve more with it. So my advice is just to do a lot of exploration. For me, I've learned that there are artists who are using it for exhibitions. There are people who are using VR to create video games. It's like you can play video games with VR, something like that. That is good for 3D artists. And there's still more to explore. That is what I can say. So the main thing is to explore, to learn more, and how to use AI to your advantage.
AI came just before or at the same time when cryptocurrency came in, or when it hit, especially in Kenya. And currently, cryptocurrency, especially with NFTs, there was a time there was that hype. People were like, I'm creating NFTs, I'm selling them on OpenSea and all of that. And then it just became quiet, especially in the NFT industry. Would you say the same will happen to artificial intelligence? And okay, I don't really understand what happened to NFTs, honestly, because there was so much hype around that sector, and then it just came to a halt. So, what will you say about that?
Okay, because one of the things I knew that affected NFT, it's AI. Like, no, that is from a discussion with a friend. Yeah, it's because now people could create their own artworks. Like you don't need an artist to create something. Now people, even someone who is a bit skilled, or someone who has no skill but has the capacity to use AI can now create his own artwork without hiring an NFT artist. That. So I think there's a bit of competition with that, and maybe artists lost the morale to continue to make NFT. See, that is the way I see it.
Okay.
Yeah. But for me, I think, from my perspective, I think AI is really, at the moment, we don't know the future of AI. If it will go silent, or it will pick up, or it will grow more and more. Because there are more AI tools being created, especially in music. If you have gone through TikTok, I've seen people can even create music using AI, like a fake voice and a fake beats. So it's really growing, and there's a lot of exploration being done. So the future is not, I can predict the future of the outcome. But for me, my advice is just to explore, just to explore and expand, with the AI.
Okay.
For me, I think it's on my view, it's like it's taking over.
True, that's true.
Yeah, it's taking over, but don't let it make you lose as a designer. Don't make you lose that energy to continue with your art journey. Just the best way is just learn to use it as a tool to make your art more nice. Yeah.
Okay. As we close up, just the last question now. What will you advise creatives who are starting up, people who don't know exactly the path to take or the decisions to make when they're starting up? What's your advice to them?
Okay, for me, I can say you be to be very vigilant in seeking opportunities. Because one thing I've learned in this career, it's not how good you are. It's because there's a people who are not so good and they are really getting customers. So be a person who knows how to knock doors at people. Don't feel ashamed to ask for help. Don't feel ashamed to go asking for jobs. Because me, that's how I began. Like, I remember when I was looking for a job I went at Nation. I remember I was so broke. I walked from Kawangware to Nation. Then I presented my comic book. We really like to publish this. At first they said no. Then after some persuasion, they accepted. So it's good to be a person who don't feel shy. Yeah. For me, I'm a shy person, but this industry doesn't will not accommodate you if you are shy. Be very confident to ask for help. Also learn to collaborate with people and networking. Go for events, show your work online. Also show your work online all the time. Be posting, creating new stuff. Especially if you're starting up, I'm sure you have a lot of free time. Yeah, so use that free time to create and learn. That's the best way. Create and learn.
Okay.
Yeah, because you never know who's watching. For me, when I was posting my work online, I didn't know who was watching. I was just posting it for fun. But from that one, it's enabled me to survive the corona season. Yeah, because at that time, we were almost losing our job. But because of that, I got income, not from Kenya, but from outside the country. Yeah. So it's just a matter of learning to seek opportunities for yourself. Don't sit around and wait for opportunity to come to you. Because again, I say it's not how good you are. Sometimes life has to show you that you have to know people, you have to network, you have to know how to persuade people. And also outside, don't only focus on design. Learn to read books about business, how to do business, how to market yourself, how to make money. You have to know the money aspect, how money works, those things. Yeah, so don't just focus on creating art, because you'll end up being a starving artist at the end.
That's an interesting story, honestly, because I've been a great fan of your work for a long time, honestly. I've been like just engaging with you on social media. Like when you post something, I'm like, hey, this is amazing. So I just like it. So I feel like from your art, I like, in a certain way, I feel like I know you a bit. And it's quite inspiring, and having to like listen to your story and from where you began, it's quite inspiring. And also I'm sure from the audience watching, Isaac Lugalia's story is an inspiring one, from having not knowing anything to do with digital art or graphic design, and having to like get to where he is right now. It's been quite a journey. And one thing I've learned from there is just seek opportunities, even if you don't know exactly, even if you don't know anything in the creative design industry, just and you're interested in it, just take up any opportunity that comes your way. You never know where it's gonna take you. And yeah, thank you for coming to this episode. We are really honored to have you, and it's been quite inspiring. I'm amazed to have met you in person, honestly.
No.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Any last remarks?
So, Mr. Isaac, how can we get you on your socials?
My handles are just Isaac Lugalia Arts. You can get me on Instagram.
Yes.
I'm still expanding my TikTok account. I was not a fan, but I'm still expanding it. So you can get mainly on Instagram, Isaac Lugalia Arts. Yes, follow me there.
Thank you so much. This has been the second episode of the first season of Creative Scene. We are here to share opportunities, learn from creatives' journey, and just grow as a community. Thank you for watching. Make sure to follow our social media handles at Creative Scene Kenya on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. And thank you for watching. Bye.